Welcome to the practical analysis video for the Absorbent Mind. Before I get into the book itself and the practical applications and implications, I just want to share a few points. The first thing is that it's really important for me to say to you that I empathise with you as a parent, and at no point in anything that I'm saying do I want to seem like I'm judging or applying pressure to what I know is already an incredibly challenging journey. Even the points that I'm going to go through, many of them I fail on. But the point is that I'm succeeding more than I'm failing each day. And these books bring an awareness of important points for us to consider and standards for us to try to recognise and meet. So it's not about saying this is what you should be doing and you going away thinking, oh my God, I'm not doing that and I've got to do that, and I don't like this is too much. It's not like that at all. It's more about these are some information points, knowledge, like I say, standards for us to kind of raise our game, for us to be aware of. So that's a really, really important point, and really, really take that on board and to heart in any and all of pro-parent material. With that all said, let's get into it. The Absorbent Mind, what a book. For me, it's a life-changing book that changed the course of my professional journey. It was a book that was literally placed into my hand without any doing on my part, and as a result of reading it, I really kind of dived into the Montessori philosophy. So I am studying Montessori. I'm a student at the Maria Montessori Institute. So with this practical analysis and all Montessori books, you're probably going to get a bit more of a richer analysis because I'm really deep into that philosophy, whereas some other books I will literally be analysing them as a first-time reader and parent. It's really worth recognising that although this book was written 70 years ago now, it's incredible to think that, it was a book that was way ahead of its time and is in fact timeless. And what we're seeing now is that neuroscience is supporting all the points that Montessori, Dr Montessori, was making back then. We now know that 80% of our brain's development happens in the first 5 to 6 years of life, the absorbent mind period. It really, really is an incredible, seminal, landmark book. And another thing that's worthwhile noting, this was the last book Maria Montessori wrote. It was the book that she wrote towards the end of her life, the one that really encapsulated everything that she'd found out about children. And although it's her last book, when viewed in the chronological series of her books, it's actually pinned as book number 1. So her last book that she wrote is now the first in the series, which really does emphasise that this is the centre of everything Montessori talked about and believed in, the absorbent mind. So, how's this going to work? Here I have the key learnings document, which you have as well. So this is a printable document. It's just a 2-page document, and this is going to form the backbone of the practical analysis video. So I'm going to walk through step by step each bullet point and just briefly talk about it, the applications, the implications, and a little bit of extra to kind of help it sink into your knowledge base so that you can hopefully use and apply this knowledge in a practical way. Incarnate. Now this is a really powerful word for me. To consider that a child actually incarnates their environment is a powerful understanding. And we can see that language is the most obvious example. It really is such a crucial part of who you are, who I am, who we all are, our language. It really does shape us, But that's not it. It's everything. The absorbent mind incarnates everything. And this is the really important point for us as parents to understand, because we are the models, the primary models for that incarnation, for that replication, that imprinting, so to speak. From our belief systems, our habits, our eating patterns, our preferences, our attitudes, our prejudices, our fears, our mannerisms, all of this comes from the child's environment and incarnates itself or imprints itself onto the child. So that's fundamental and important point for us to take on as parents. And leads on to the next point, responsibility. And this is a big one. Now knowing about the absorbent mind, how fundamental it is in the creation of that being, it just places massive responsibility on us, on anyone around children, because they are taking that all in. The absorbent mind doesn't filter anything out, it takes it all in, every single thing. And so the responsibility element is something that as parents we just really need to understand that, and it goes way beyond the responsibility of providing, you know, in terms of food and shelter, etc. I like to think that we should take this understanding as a motivation to develop or better ourselves so that we can be a more positive model. So a fun way of looking at this is maybe to provide ourselves a challenge. What 3 things would you look at within yourself and think, you know, this is something that it's been a little bit of thorn in my being, it's something that I need to work on, it's not really something that I want to pass on to my child, and then look at that as an area for development, knowing that it's our responsibility to be the best model we can for the absorbent mind of that child. So to be completely transparent and get involved with this as well, my 3 areas of attention are temper control, to develop structure and routine, and to pronounce my words clearly. I'm working on each of those daily. So what are 3 areas in your life that you might consider that, you know, they're probably not areas that you don't really want to talk about, not easy to share with people, but this is what we have to do as parents. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. So that's a nice challenge for you to take on in regards to responsibility. Next point is the child, the environment and the adult. Obviously we have the child, you are the adult, the parent, and so in the context of this video I just want to talk about the environment really. Everything that is the child's outer world, that is the environment. You are the most important thing within that environment because you have the most influence, the most impact upon the child, and you have the ability and the responsibilities, as I do, to maintain and develop and control that environment. Keeping it clean and organised, safe and comfortable, appealing, accessible and stimulating for your child. These are the responsibilities that we have as the guardian of the environment. It's about following their development so that the environment reflects where they are and almost, I like to think, stays a step ahead of them. So there's always kind of challenge around them, an opportunity to challenge themselves, to stimulate their hands and their minds. And also, you know, there's a real sort of, I think, misconception about Montessori being expensive and for a certain class, and that couldn't be further from the truth. A child doesn't care as much about interior design as they do accessibility. You know, it's better to have a second-hand old coat hook on the wall at a low level for them to hang their coat on than no coat hook at all. There's various things that I've done on the cheap, even just using boxes sometimes for holding materials or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's not about it being expensive. Independence and concentration. So having read The Absorbent Mind, I now look at concentration almost like the fibre optic channel for learning and development. And we will go more into the concept of concentration in the final point. So I want to give independence a little bit of attention here. And here's the thing, if a child can do something, don't do it for them. It's that simple. Once a child can unbutton their shirt, then that's it, let them do it. It will take them longer, of course, and that might require us to be patient, but let them do it. Often we'll find ourselves as parents, and I still do, kind of just steaming in and trying to do stuff for children, and sometimes there's a time and place for that if we're in a rush, for example, but as much as possible just let them take control of their environment. Subplanes. Now, the psychological organs thing, how did it go down? For me, I got it first time, but I know even some students on the course really struggle to understand the concept of it. It's a metaphor. Organs in our mind, you know, that grow at certain times, just like organs in our body grow at certain times. And once that organ's time of development is done, it's fixed. So there is a sensitive period for language learning. There is a sensitive period for movement. These are the things that we need to look out for. Experience over information. So the focus here really is, for me, all about the hands. I mean, it's all experience, it's all sensorial experience that we're talking about here. Taste, what they hear, from music to the sounds of birds to the language that we use. But the focus for me right now, and in the relation to this video, is just the hands. Children need to be hands-on. This is just how they learn about the world best. We need to give them the opportunity for experience with everyday hands-on activity as much as possible, and not kind of barge in and do things for them when and where possible, which is a massive temptation for adults in general. We just kind of feel, well, that's not the right way to do it, this is how you do it. Try to be more hands-off so that they can be more hands-on. And so to give you a little sort of insight into my life with my children, Lana right now has got that beautiful sort of baby grip where she's just using her whole hand to pick up every item, and the pincer grip is just coming into play. And what I'm now working on is teaching her to let go of an item and try and put it into something. So that's where she's at, just putting an item into something else. It's just great fun for her. She's not there yet, and so it's lovely knowing that at some point in the very near future that's something that she will be able to do, and that's a development milestone. Mandala, my 2.5-year-old, I would say that he's actually quite clumsy with his hands, more so than my older child was at the same age. And this is not a judgment, this is just where he's at. This is our responsibility to kind of be aware of that and help them work on it. With Sham, who's 4 now, his ability with his hands is really, really good, really strong. He loves drawing, he's quite artistic. And so what I'm now working on with him, which is a lovely opportunity for father-son time, is Lego, because I love Lego. And it's an opportunity for me to be a child again. It's very fiddly, Lego. And so it's a great opportunity for precision, I suppose. Precision and power in the fingers. That's what I'm working on with him. Preparation of the environment. Preparation of the environment is a fundamental responsibility within Montessori schools. The environment being the classroom. And every single teacher has to take that responsibility very seriously, because a well-prepared, well-maintained environment is what allows a child to explore freely, to become independent. They don't need to ask when they want to do something. They don't need to ask for help if they need something regarding practical life, be it wash their hands, tidying up water that they've accidentally spilt. This all comes down to carefully considered, prepared environments. And so it's really about transferring that professional standard within a Montessori school and saying to ourselves as parents, well, can we apply this within the home? And over time, as they see that this is the model for how the environment should be maintained, they learn as well to absorb that, to replicate that. So they become more conscious and caring about organisation, about maintaining their materials. Observe keenly. Observation is a skill. It's not a matter of just watching and saying, oh, well, I'm observing, because the two words are in a way interchangeable, but observation is a scientific skill. It really requires us to be completely present and focused and really immersed in that child for a period of time. Anything from 10 minutes to a minute to even 10 seconds. But those 10 seconds are undiluted, focused on observation. What am I getting? What am I learning from this child right now? And it's about informing ourselves so that we can then make informed decisions about how we might change or adapt the environment, what we might offer to the child to help their next development milestones. And it's really worth noting as well that observation was really the only tool that Maria Montessori had. During her lifetime, she didn't have the use of mobile phones and cameras. She didn't have all the scientific data that we now have on child development and brain development. It was purely through observation that she obtained her incredible knowledge of the child. That knowledge has gone on to change the world, with over 20,000 Montessori schools each day enriching lives purely based on the observations that Maria Montessori made. I can't emphasize strongly enough that as parents, it's something we really need to take on board. Responsibility and freedom. Sometimes, with regards to freedom, we are the obstacles, the biggest obstacles, primarily and understandably because of fear. We love these children, we cherish them so much, and fear kind of tends to seep in. We might be reining them back from exploring the environment, from sinking into it, from getting their hands on. That's something to be aware of, and another sort of healthy challenge that I might invite you to consider is how many times do you find yourself making decisions based on fear? How many times do you think that your parenting is driven by worry? And there's a difference between concern, healthy concern, and over worrying. There's a really good saying, worrying's like a rocking chair. It keeps you busy but gets you nowhere. Of course we want to be caring and concerned, but fear and worry can sometimes lead us to be obstacles to the child's freedom. And it's that freedom that allows them to develop their own sense of responsibility. And finally, never interrupt a concentrating child. Never interrupting a concentrating child makes more sense in a classroom. We understand that the classroom is where concentration is prioritized. How practical and realistic is that in the home? Well, the answer, in my opinion, is less. But that doesn't mean that it's a message that should be cast aside. As the primary caregiver, you are going to see your child concentrating more than anyone else. And it's concentrating on anything. It could be picking grass, it could be stacking stones, it could be writing or drawing, it could be anything. But when you see that your child is concentrating, with this message we now understand that we need to respect that concentration. And what I'm finding, having kind of got it locked down, the balance between not interrupting and interrupting when we as parents simply have to, I'm finding that I have to be the guardian of that concentration from other adults who aren't aware of the importance of concentration within a child and within the period of the absorbent mind. A small example might be family members that come up to a child, one of my children, that's in the middle of something, they're really in the zone, they're enjoying something, they're focusing, and maybe they've got a phone and they're on a FaceTime or a WhatsApp call and there's someone to speak to, and just interrupting, and saying, hey, Shambhala or Mandala, look, say hello to this person, say hello to that person. And the child is in the middle of something, they're concentrating, they're working. It's just like you or I. If we're in the middle of something, we're really making good progress, we're enjoying it, we're in flow, and someone comes and says, X and X, we say, can you just let me finish this, please? But a child won't really be able to verbalise that as clearly. But quickly, on that note, if you are going to interrupt, try to interrupt with a countdown. So, okay, in 5 minutes we're going to be leaving, or in 5 minutes it's time to wash your hands. Okay, 2 minutes, 1 minute. That really helps a child stay focused, but understand the change is going to happen. So it's up to us to observe that they are in a state of concentration, and then either stop ourselves from interrupting unnecessarily, or as you get better and better at that, stopping others doing that in a tactful and polite way. So we've come to the end of this practical analysis video for the Absorbent Mind book. I hope that you got some value from it and that there was at least one point that you can use and apply in your own life with your own child.